Tracy L. Fisher, Face Reentry, and this is Reentry Point of View. I'm here with Mark Cohen, who's running for judge. How you doing today?
Very good, Tracy. I'm enjoying running for judge. I'm running for judge to make fundamental changes in the criminal justice system in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, my people already know me. They already know what I'm about. And I have to interview every individual that's running for judge, running for DA, and anything else. Tell me why my audience should actually want to vote for you.
I have more experience as a government official than any of the other candidates for judge. I've been in the state legislature for 42 and a half years. I am best known for my efforts to legalize medical marijuana, to raise the minimum wage, to set up an organ transplant program to benefit Pennsylvanians. I have been, throughout my years in the legislature, very, very active in criminal justice issues. My first assignment in the legislature was part of a special committee to investigate the rape laws. At that time, it's hard to believe now, but it's true that at that time in Pennsylvania, the defense, the rape victim was not a virgin, was a get out of jail free card. It didn't matter what the facts were. She was not a virgin. She was not to be believed by court. That was Pennsylvania case law. We changed that. Later on, we voted on a whole series of bills treating children as adults for Pennsylvania purposes. I voted against most of that legislation. Hardy Williams, as a state representative, he led the charge against that legislation. That legislation was in effect for many years, but ultimately the U.S. Supreme Court declared that legislation and other similar legislation in other states to be unconstitutional. I felt somewhat vindicated by that. And now children are only treated as adults in rare, very limited circumstances. I am committed to a justice system that treats everybody fairly. People are individuals. They're not to be judged by their economic status, they're not to be judged by their race, they're not to be judged by what neighborhood they're in, or how long they've been residents of Philadelphia, or whether they're citizens or not. They're to be judged by the facts of the case and the law. That's what I will do if elected judge. I will be a fair and impartial judge. Fair and impartial is a phrase that's in the judicial code of conduct. I will certainly work to live up to that goal in the judicial code of conduct. We will listen to everybody. We'll try to get the cases to run on time and with as much speed as fairness allows. One of the things that often happens in court is that there are endless delays, and you need 10 witnesses for a case, and they don't all show up, so then you have to postpone the trial. And a lot of the witnesses get frustrated, and they say, well, I showed up now at 2 or 3, and it didn't mean anything, so why should I show up at all? In the future, I think we have to use modern technology, such as automatic calling, to encourage all the witnesses to be present.
So is that a big problem with the witnesses not showing up?
Yes, it is. It is a tremendous
That's
problem.
why a lot of cases go unsolved.
A lot of cases go undecided because of that. It just eats up. It just eats up a lot of time, and it gets the judges to measure their success by the number of cases prosecuted or the number of cases decided, rather than whether justice is done. I'm going to try to focus on getting justice done. I'm going to try to get rid of the obstacles in terms of endless delays. I know some judges are rigid about ending the court cases at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not going to be so rigid. If there are witnesses present, I'm not going to say, well, let's all come again tomorrow, because I know from experience that not everybody who's here today is going to be here tomorrow. Right. We'll say, I will try to get agreement from both sides. So we'll let the witnesses testify today. They're here.
Well, let me ask you this. By this being a reentry show, how do you feel about reentry?
Reentry is vital. I've known that for a long time. My mother, about 40 years ago, was executive director of the Pennsylvania Program for Women and Girl Offenders. And they were talking then about how just about everybody who goes to prison comes out of prison, and there just aren't very many programs available to help the people. I'm delighted that you're forming an innovative new program, and I look forward as a judge to working with you and other groups. Now, every case has to be decided on its own merits. You know, I can't promise that anybody that any friend of theirs is going to get special treatment. But there are basic policy issues.
What are the main two basic policy issues that occur to you?
Well, policy issues that occur to me include the role of rehabilitation and whether or not we are going to allow for the possibility that people can be rehabilitated, or whether we're going to say, nope, he committed this crime, there's no way rehabilitation can take place. I believe that rehabilitation can take place. There are guidelines issued by the courts, aggravating and mitigating factors. I will faithfully go over these factors. I'm not just going to
Absolutely. I'm sorry, because of what?
I'm not just going to rule out of water and say it's irrelevant. The guy's guilty. You know, I want to look at the aggravating and mitigating factors.
Absolutely.
In the case, in order to decide what the sentencing ought to be. Another policy issue is the role of is the societal expectations of people. I really want to encourage partnerships in the community to talk kids out of pursuing a life of crime.
Prevention.
Of the prevention. The judicial system has to be active in the community. That doesn't mean that I or other judges particularly have great credibility with a 18-year-old kid who may or may not commit crimes in the future. But I think we have to be looking actively to reach out and find people who do have credibility.
And this question comes from the inmate at Greatest Free Penitentiary, and the question they asked me to ask is, what made you get into law? Because they said that you can determine a lot by a person when maybe something happened in life or you saw some injustice or so forth like that, because when they see that, they can gauge more of whom they dealing with.
Well, my father was a lawyer, and he was committed to fighting against injustice. And I saw things happen to him where he was subject at one point to totally false charges. And he eventually got a lawyer and got a complete vindication. So I saw that there are contests about what the law means in society. There are contests as to what the law should be. We've dealt with that in the legislature all the time. And the positions that I'm open to seek at the common pleas court level and municipal court level are about what the law means. How do we apply it in this case? How do we apply it in that case? What factors do we consider?
Individual is in your court, and you have some leniency with the guidelines. How do you deal with that?
Well, I helped set up the Sentencing Commission along with other legislators many years ago. Before there was a Sentencing Commission, there was incredibly wide variation in the cases, and the sentencing guidelines limit the variation, but there's still room for judicial discretion. I will listen very carefully to the evidence of whether the person committed the crime or did not commit the crime, and what the aggravating and mitigating factors are. Was there any degree of coercion in the person committing the crime? Were there any mitigating circumstances that might lean towards leniency. We're going to aggravating circumstances, like he really stabbed the person with vigor and venom. Others should lean towards a tougher sentence. I will work to be fair. I will let the defense lawyer and the prosecutors try their cases. I will let them produce evidence. I will listen to the evidence produced. I will not try to shut it down. I'm not going to hold counsel to arbitrary time limits. I'm willing to meet in the evening if everybody is on both sides is agreeable to that. I want thorough decision making in all the cases, not just railroad cases through.
Well, for people that might not know what you mean when you say you help write the legislation, explain that.
Well, as a state legislator, our duty is to write and read and help produce with many others. There are 203 members of the House, 50 members of the Senate, and we serve on committees. Several times I've been on committees, such as the Committee to Investigate the Problems of Rape Victims, such as the Crime and Corrections Subcommittee, the Judiciary, such as the Speaker Symposium on Crime and Violence. Several times I've had formal responsibilities in committees. Other times I've just introduced things on my own. I was not on any committee dealing with medical marijuana, but I introduced that on my own.
How did you arrive to medical marijuana? How did you arrive to that decision, to be a part of that?
Because nobody else was doing it. And there was an obvious issue. Other states were legalizing medical marijuana, and no bill had been introduced in that for over 3 decades in Pennsylvania. And nobody was willing to do it. It was considered to be the kiss of death to introduce the legislation. So people got frustrated. One reporter called me and asked me, how come nobody's introduced it? Why haven't you introduced the legislation? So I thought about that. And I said, okay, we'll introduce medical marijuana legislation and get the ball rolling. Let's discover whatever positive elements there are of marijuana that can be used for medical purposes. And we kept at it, and I did what you're doing here with the reentry group. I talked to countless groups of little marijuana groups of activists in this county or that county, scattered around the state. I said, you got to talk to your legislator. Well, he won't listen to me, people say. Well, get more and more people talking to him. And by the time the medical marijuana passed into law in 2016, there were tens of thousands of people who were organized around the state and were talking to their legislators, and were getting legislators to actually read the studies, which showed that marijuana can be used successfully for medical purposes, and it's had good results in the states that have done that. And so they started reading the studies. And I think that with recidivism, it's a similar process.
Absolutely.
That only one side has talked to most of the legislators. And if you get people telling the truth, that most people who get out of prison do not commit crimes after they get out, that there's a need for opportunities for prisoners when they get out, that everybody just about who goes to prison gets out of prison. And the society as a whole has to be thinking, what do we do for the prisoners? Do we just throw away the key, or do we try to stigmatize them for the rest of their lives? Or do we treat them as human beings? I favor treating everybody as human beings.
I like that.
That's prisoners, that's immigrants, that's people of color, that's every single person should be recognized as a human being.
On that note, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you look into my audience and say to them how they can get in contact with you if they have any questions or want to follow up on a few things. So you can just go and give your information, email, whatever you want to do.
Okay, well, I certainly would welcome contact with this audience. I welcome people looking to work with me to effect meaningful, constructive change. People can call me at 215-375-4307. That's 215-375-4307. They can write me by email at mmacohen, C-O-H-E-N, 1 @verizon.net. That's mmacohen1 @verizon.net.